tier list. We all do like a tier list in our life. People giving their opinions and ranking things based on the best or worst, and you sit there and pretend to care about their opinion. Well, every single time you see a football tier list when it comes to ranking the biggest clubs or the best fan bases or literally anything about any club, there's always one club at the bottom of it. This club is called MK Dons. What's first thing? If you can hit 3,000 likes and comment down below your thoughts on MK Dons, and that'd be absolutely fantastic. And of course, because it's Valentine's Day, congrats. Probably, I don't know. Code LOVE for 20% off all items my design company, Vizeh Designs, for the best football prints. Link down below top of the description. And yeah, now it is already very likely that you already know the origins of MK Dons, but there's a chance that you may not know them at all. I will go as far to say that MK Dons is the most hated club in England. Now I know you may say, oh, but Man United because their fans are everywhere, or Liverpool because you may not like their fan base, or Arsenal because they're annoying. I don't know. But quantifiably, if you ask any fan of anywhere across the entire country and you put a tier list of the biggest clubs or the worst clubs, you'll always find MK Dons at the bottom tier. Another club that you may find similar treatment to is Forest Green Rovers, and that's mainly because, well, they're vegan. It's a vegan club, and English people don't like many things, but they definitely don't like vegans. This is something morally agreed with every single person in the country, and it goes even as far that even people from Milton Keynes, where MK Dons is currently located, that people from Milton Keynes would rather support really any other club other than support MK Dons because of the bullying that they will get for supporting them. English people don't like many things, but the one thing they do not like the most are Americans. Not specifically the people, depends who you ask. They don't like culture or really any other culture brought onto their sport, which is football, and well, you know, it's took a little bit too seriously here at times. MK Dons are the outlier in the entirety of the Football League pyramid, or really anywhere in England, where they are the sole embodiment of the Americanization of a football team, and this is called franchise. Now, when you think of franchise, what do you think? You probably think of whatever you got taught in GCSE business. In American sports, this is quite common, where you have a team in the league and you relocate them to a different area as part of a franchise. Some examples are the New Jersey Nets, which then turns into the Brooklyn Nets. So they played in New Jersey and now they play in Brooklyn. Another being the Vancouver Grizzlies turning into the Memphis Grizzlies, and if you look at a map, Vancouver is quite far away from Memphis. So the idea of having a team in one part of the world where the culture and the community of that club is based around that one team, you could just grab that team and move it to a different part of the country and expect it to work. Surprise, it doesn't. Well, definitely not in football anyway. In English culture, football is really all based about the community. Now, of course, you will have people that supports teams that's nowhere near where that team is, and that's fine, I guess. The most supported club in London is Manchester United, as there's just so many Man United fans in London for whatever reason. However, they always say that, oh, well, my family or my granddad supported them, therefore I support them too. Yeah, of course, mate. Of course, nothing to do with their, near 2 decades of success. It's the same concept of why you suddenly meet so many Man City fans who you never saw before prior to 2015. Anyway, that's not the point of the video. Moving teams' locations doesn't work. It makes no sense in English football, largely because a lot of teams are all based around the community. You cannot just plant a team into a random area and expect them to suddenly now support that team. And now we finally get onto MK Dons. MK Dons, or Milton Keynes Dons, were founded in 2004. Now, most teams that you find are founded in 1882, 1912, 1874. It's always hundreds of years ago. Having a team found in 2004 may sound quite strange, and what even is stranger is, well, look at the stadium. It's a big stadium. How is a team that is predominantly always in League 1, League 2, sometimes Championship, but how is a team that was founded only 19 years ago having a stadium the size of, well, a team in the Premier League? Well, MK Dons, prior to their franchise, was called Wimbledon FC. Now, you may be saying, wait, but there's a team called Wimbledon, so that makes no sense. Why is Wimbledon there when they were Wimbledon? Well, that's because that's a new Wimbledon. It's quite confusing, but trust me, it all does make sense. The original Wimbledon FC was always kind of a non-league team in their previous years. However, in the 1980s, a fairy tale story happened that Wimbledon FC rose through the divisions very rapidly, reaching the top flight of English football in 1991. And due to how fast they went up, they had to ground share with other football clubs like Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, as Wimbledon spent many years trying to find a home where they can actually build a new stadium. However, this created a massive issue because they couldn't find a suitable place to actually build a new stadium. Because you see, Wimbledon FC used to play in a place called Plough Lane that had about 15,000 certain capacity. However, in 1990 there was a thing called a Taylor Report, which followed after the Hillsborough disaster, where safety measures had to be put into place for every single team in the highest level to be at all-seater stadium, and the board of Wimbledon had an issue where they could not economically develop the stadium to meet the new standards. Therefore, you literally could not play in a stadium back by 1994. Hence why the look for a new stadium went on, and then on, and then on. This is why the ground share at Crystal Palace happened in the first place. It's a strange way to kill a football club, but this is what was the main issue, that they never had a stadium to actually go play football in. Having so many weird plans, as even one was to relocate to Dublin. And if you don't know where Dublin is, it's an island, which is not in England. So that's a big problem. And then came a man called Pete Winkleman. You may see his face around because he's quite well known for being not liked that much. The Milton Keynes Development Corporation had plans to build a stadium, but they didn't have a club to build a stadium around. The reason why MK Dons is not took seriously is that the club is originally based around a stadium. Like, the story of the club is a stadium, and the stadium embodies everything wrong with the club and what is mean about it. As the proposal to the stadium was made back in 2000, so the stadium and the plan of it was actually older than the football club itself. The issue is, you may say, well, why not just put a club around the area to play in a stadium and accommodate that club other than just add a new one there from a different location? Well, the only club that played in Milton Keynes, or the highest ranked club, was a team called Milton Keynes City that played in the 8th tier of English football, probably having not even only 500 fans. So you may just say, just don't build a stadium. But they were obsessed of building a stadium that can accommodate a top-flight football team. So they insisted on finding a team that needed a stadium to then plant the team in a stadium. And this never really happened before. The idea of building a stadium before the football club is stupid, to be quite frank with you. So they offered a stadium to many different teams, such as Luton Town, Wimbledon, Barnet, Crystal Palace, and Queen's Park Rangers. None of them was really based near Milton Keynes and was too far away to really imagine moving a stadium there for an entire fan base to expect to go to back and forth for home games. Wimbledon, however, had a serious situation where they couldn't actually play anywhere, so they had to take up on an offer to have a stadium. And in 2003, Wimbledon went into administration, and it died basically from straight underneath them. So then this Pete Winkleman bought Wimbledon. However, he completely changed the club, changing its name, its badge, its colours, and it's in a completely new location. What made it even worse was that they actually tried to claim the history of Wimbledon FC despite now being called MK Dons. For 3 years, it claimed the heritage and history of Wimbledon FC, which officially was renounced in 2007. So MK Dons began in 2004, starting in League One, as original Wimbledon FC died and had to start all over again in the lower divisions. And an incredible rise, and is actually quite a story in itself, was how Wimbledon FC rose up through the divisions naturally and actually ended up being on the same level and beating MK Dons, and that's where the derby is formed to this day. The tale of MK Dons is one which is quite terrifying, as when you look at the stadium and where they play in week out, it is absolutely laughable. If I was to ask you the average attendance for most MK Dons games, what do you think it will be? Well, as of this season in 2023-24, they have an average attendance of around 5,900 in a 30,000 seater stadium, so hence why it looks like this. And if you're a fan of MK Dons, you kind of just wouldn't bother. MK Dons has become quite well known for becoming one of the best away days, as you pretty much have an entire stadium to yourself. So when they face bigger teams with historically bigger fan bases that can follow the team home and away, you usually find their away end is usually bigger than the actual home end. As of right now, the average attendance of the stadium is 20.1%. Therefore, the stadium is only a fifth full. It's not exactly working out. Now, this isn't disastrous compared to other League One attendance figures. It's just because of the size of the stadium that it just looks so silly. And then when you put MK Dons in League 2 right now, they are currently 12th in the entire league in terms of average attendance. So they're not disastrous. They have got some sort of fan base there, but it looks silly in comparison to the size of the actual stadium, where most stadiums are around 6,000, 8,000, maybe 10,000, so at least the stadium is at least over half full. Here, it's 20%. So due to the origins of MK Dons, where they pretty much stole the identity of a football club and moved it and relocated it, one of the only of its kind in England, the entire community of football doesn't really take them seriously. Hence why I'm surprised to see that if you are from Milton Keynes, why you would even bother. Because it just seems like stress for the sake of it. I couldn't be bothered with people mocking my football club week in, week out. If I was to say, tell me something about MK Dons, you will say one of three things. You will say say Dele Alli. You would say beating Manchester United 4-0. Don't know how that happened, but it did happen. And then number 3 is, well, they stole a football club. As of right now, MK Dons are currently in League 2 of English football, and they're still doing decently, as they are seen as a bigger club in the division in terms of their finances. So yeah, that's the story of MK Dons and why people kind of just don't care about them, and they're just kind of a weird outlier in the entirety of Football League, just compared to, well, look at the stadium and that's kind of it. It is kind of cool to see the rise of AFC Wimbledon, that of course came from level 9 of the English football pyramid, the Combined Counties Football League, and they've rose all the way up from the Isthmian League Division 1, from the Premier Division of Isthmian League to Conference South, and again, to see them go from literally being a non-entity in 8 years to now being a Football League club was remarkable actually to see. So whereas people may hate Man United, Liverpool or Arsenal or whoever, at least they will still respect them, they will respect their history. However, MK Dons is one of the only outliers in the entirety of the Football League where people don't respect their history and really where they came from, and that will always be an issue and will always be seen as somewhat of a stain to the Football League system, where their existence is based on a stadium and a franchise. And when you look at this picture, it kind of tells the entire story. When you look at many stadiums in the Football League where the stadium is based around a community, houses and roads surrounding it leading to the community, MK Dons is based on a retail park next to an IKEA in Asda, and that will always be the embodiment of what they're known for. If you are an MK Dons fan, I am sorry, I do apologise. I don't know if there's many MK Dons fans, but I mean, it is clearly a large city, Milton Keynes, so I do apologise, but this is just how most people think. Tell me your thoughts about MK Dons, but I'm looking forward to hearing it. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. See ya.